Hello and welcome to day 7 of our By Faith series. I brought you to one of my favorite spots. I can walk to this little place. It's in the complex right next to mine. They have this nice little waterfall, and right now it's teeming with wildlife. And like I mentioned earlier, it makes me think about sometimes we just got to get out and look at God's creation, and that'll build our faith up. And so I hope you've enjoyed talking about faith and looking at your own faith, and even going deeper and looking at some of the characters of faith that can inspire us so much, of Joseph, of Moses, of Abraham. And then I think about just the definition of faith is how we just faithfully we put our trust in God, because not only He is who He says He is, but He's also going to come through with His promises. And so I hope you've enjoyed that. Now there's one passage in Hebrews 11 that I absolutely love. And it's Hebrews 11 verse 13. It says, "All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth." People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for He has prepared a city for them. And this passage challenges me so much, especially when it comes to my faith, because I can desire to hold on to things that I can see versus going and faithfully pursuing things that I can't see. And we talked about that a little bit when it came to Joseph. But they lived in such a way and with faith that was so great that they were looking forward to a country that God had prepared for them. And the title of this one is By Faith We Live. We're going to have an opportunity right now to hear from a young lady in our singles ministry. And she's going to share some things that I think that will really inspire and build up our faith. Let's go now to hear what Abby has to say.
Hello, we're here with Abir Lutfi. Abir, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Awesome. Well, grateful to have you here with us. I wanted to ask you just to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in the Middle East, specifically in Jordan. I moved out to Los Angeles with my family over 16 years ago. And in the past 10 years, I've been working in the medical field as a dietitian. And I've been doing that since.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for the work that you do in our community, serving really on the front lines during the coronavirus outbreak. To you, to all those who are those healthcare professionals or first responders, all those, even those that are working at the grocery stores, thank you so much for doing that for us as we face the quarantine orders that we're facing. Now, Abir, I know that you're part of our church here in Santa Clarita, part of our amazing Frontline Singles ministry. And last year, you had the opportunity to go to the Middle East to a Christian conference out there. I wanted to ask you just to share with us a little bit about that experience. How was that for you?
It was definitely an awesome experience. Going back home and to the Middle East and being able to meet disciples there and other Middle Easterns who do believe in Christ and Jesus, and they're able to. I was able to worship with them and in our tongue language. So it was like a great time of fellowship. I learned so much when I was out there. It was just a great time to enjoy the food too. I miss Middle Eastern food so much. So it was great to eat the food there and worship and listen to music in my tongue language. So it was a great experience that I had for sure. And I was able to build so many great friendships.
Oh, that's awesome. And you said eat the food there. I'm a foodie. What was your favorite dish?
Well, all Middle Eastern food is great, but my favorite is tabbouleh, which is like a Middle Eastern salad. So I definitely enjoyed that a lot there.
Okay, well, you're going to have to make that for us one day.
Yeah, for sure. I'll try. I'll try.
Awesome. Well, I know, it's well documented that Christianity out there is definitely a minority. People risk imprisonment. They can risk even death. They can hurt their families just by professing a faith in Christ. And it's not in all the areas out there. I know there's some areas that there's a lot more freedom to express your religion, but there's other areas that, people have literally died for their faith out there. And it's something that I know, and I think many Americans know, but we don't always remember. And, like for us, we have multiple Bibles in our homes or on our phones. And for them, it could be just a risk just to have a Bible.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, from your interactions with the Christians out there and learning about them and getting to build great relationships with them, what do you think is something that we can learn from them during a time like this?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to learn. Since they're not able to publicly share their faith, they have to show it. So a lot of times Christians in the Middle East are known for their character, their Christ-like character. So whether it's their hospitality, their generosity, their love for others, serving their neighbors and loving their neighbors, even at the workplace, just being honest and hardworking, all these characters definitely is what makes a Christian there. They're able to share their faith through that. So Christians in the Middle East, they show their faith, since they can't talk about it. So that's something that we can definitely learn about.
Wow. And that's such a key point for us to remember that they can't really always share their faith. They have to show it. I can only imagine what it would be like if I want to talk about Jesus, but I can't, so I can only show them Jesus in my life. And I know that there comes a point where they do eventually share their faith with somebody. That's got to be so scary for them. From what you know of them, how do they overcome that?
Yeah. It is definitely scary for them, but when those situations come that they do have to publicly share, they have to rely more on God in these situations. Definitely their faith, trusting in God more than their feelings. That's something definitely that they have to rely on that instead of their feelings. So.
That's wow. I know that's something I can learn myself, is just trusting God more than my feelings. And I venture to guess many of us can really learn that too. Abir, thank you so much for just bringing that experience to us. I understand that there's some stories that you're not even allowed to share out of protection for our brothers and sisters out there, but just sharing a little bit about that experience. I'm glad you got to go back home, enjoy the music, enjoy the food, and enjoy the fellowship. Once again, thank you for all that you're doing here in our community as you're serving on the front lines. Hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Wow, I was so grateful to be able to interview Abby. I think the story that she shared, and even knowing that there's things that she really couldn't share because out of protection for our fellow brothers and sisters in the Middle East, it's just so faith-building and inspiring, really. And just knowing that they have to rely more on their faith than on their emotions. And what a high calling for us. And how, for them, the way they share their faith is really by how they live. And by faith, we live. I want to ask you, as you're leaving or finishing the Quiet Time series, what are you going to change about how you live that's going to be that's going to preach a sermon to your neighbors, to your friends, to your families, to those people at your jobs? By faith, we live. Our lives should be a lesson to those around us. We have an incredible opportunity to spread the gospel, not just by what we say. We have the opportunity to be able to say things that, quite frankly, there's people in other parts of the world, they can't say it. Otherwise, they risk death or imprisonment. But for us, we have the opportunity to be able to say things. So by faith, what are you going to say, but also more so, really, by faith, what are you going to do? What are you going to change? What's your life going to look like? I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to go through this series with you. Make sure you subscribe, because we're going to be putting up more content over the course of the next few weeks. Going to continue to have the quarantine quiet times. We also have music videos, as well as our Sunday worship services are going up online. Thank you for joining. Have faith, grow in your faith, and by faith, we live. Love you all. Have a good day.